Hi everybody, Michael the Librarian of Magic here, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. I am back on this October the 5th with another Halloween drawing for you, another treat, and I'm ready to jump right in. The same disclaimers as always apply. You can check out my other videos to see what I'm talking about with those. Check out the first video in this series to hear about that in detail. With that out of the way, straight into today's drawing. And today's treat might be a rarity for some of you, or you might be excited to see this for some of you. These are Goons. They're just named the Goons. They're henchmen from Sleeping Beauty, Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty. These are Maleficent's Goons from the 1959 animated film. This image itself was actually, I found online a statuette on like the Disney shop, a figurine of these three in this little castle formation, so I just did my best to reproduce the figurine. And it came out okay. I had some challenges with it. There was some weird things with depth and scale and stuff, because I was actually, my basis for this was a three-dimensional figurine, and it was kind of my first attempt at drawing something like that. So it came out pretty good. You can tell who they are, and I really like these characters, so I'm mostly happy with it. As I said, they're from the 1959 film. A few things about the film before I get into a little bit about the character. Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty was animated by many of the usual suspects in Walt's 9 Old Men lineup. Milt Kahl was involved, Ollie Johnston, Frank Thomas, Eric Larson, several of, probably at least 6 of the 9, I think, were involved on this one. And they did a great job with animating all these different characters. Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty was the first animated film to be filmed in 70 millimeter, basically. It's actually called Super Technical 70 or something like that. They had all these names to make it sound, to market it. So it's like Super Technica 70 or Super Cinerama, whatever. But basically what it means is they had some prints that were filmed in 70 millimeter, which is the largest available widescreen format for film, which it actually still is the widest screen format. When you go to a movie theater, typically the format that you're seeing most movies in is 35 millimeter. So 70 millimeter is double that. And basically, it just sort of opens up the scope. If you've never seen any movies in 70 millimeter, and you may not, because not many theaters are fitted for that sort of size and have those sort of cameras and projection systems, it is an interesting experience. Check your area whenever the world is better to go for going to see movies, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But if you ever get the chance, it'd be great. And with this movie being the first animated, and that there are actual prints out there, I would absolutely love to see this film, Sleeping Beauty, in 70 millimeter. I think that would just be really, really interesting to see. But they only did it for like a couple of limited runs, probably locally in California. Most places in the country, even now, aren't fitted for that sort of thing, and particularly in 1959, they probably wouldn't have been either. But it would really be something to see. And I think the format too had at the time was a special, like they had 6-channel sound, which now you could probably do, like, if you were making a movie brand new, you could make 8-channel, even probably up to 11-channel sound. But if you saw it in Super Technica 70, it would probably be the full print of the film was formatted for 70 millimeters and 6 channels of sound, which would be really something to see, I think. Anyway, I think that Sleeping Beauty, surprisingly, is underrated as a Disney princess film. You would think it would be, it wouldn't feel that way because there's so much, the castle at Disneyland is Sleeping Beauty's castle and so on. But I feel like there's so many princess movies now, and so many of them are popular, that it tends to get a little bit lost in the shuffle sometimes, I think. Sleeping Beauty in 1959, another surprising tidbit, was the last time that Disney made a movie based on a fairy tale, or dipped into the fairy tale genre all the way until The Little Mermaid. They never really went back specifically to the fairy tale genre until then. Um, so that's kind of just a few little tidbits about the film itself and when it was made and how they made it. The voice acting talent, of course, you knew I would bring that up for these characters here. They were voiced by three people, obviously. Candy Candido, who did a few voices for Disney in his career, but mostly he was also a sounds guy. That happens a lot, especially with these kind of characters. You'll get like a sound effects guy because they're sort of animalistic, unusual characters. But he also voiced the Indian Chief in Peter Pan, which is a character that, in my opinion, has not aged terribly well, unfortunately. He voiced Captain Crocodile in Robin Hood, which is a pretty cool character. And he also voiced Fidget the Bat in The Great Mouse Detective. He was still working with Disney all the way up until the 80s when they made The Great Mouse Detective. And that is a pretty cool character. That's one that maybe I should consider drawing sometime. I might do that. But that's I like that character a lot. And then also, if you have been to Disneyland, you may hear Candy Candido's voice in several attractions. He's a prisoner in the Haunted Mansion. He is the voice of some devils in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. He reprises his role as the Indian Chief in Peter Pan's Flight. And you can also be heard as one of the goons in the walkthrough attraction of Sleeping Beauty's castle at Disneyland. You can walk through the castle and see some of the goons in there. One of the other goons was voiced by a guy named Bob Amsbury, who was a guy who kind of came up through the radio scene. He had some characters on a popular radio show regionally before he got noticed by Disney. And then he was a young man in his early 20s. He was cast as one of the original cast members in the Mickey Mouse Club. And while he was on the Mickey Mouse Club back in the 50s, he had a few popular characters there. One of them was a clown of some sort, I think. And that eventually became popular enough to be a walk-around character in Disneyland for a short little time. And then he was sort of starting to pick up steam in his career with the Mickey Mouse Club. He was featured in a Hardy Boys film, which I think was made by Disney, Mystery in the Ghost Farm. He had a role as a farmer in that. And then he voiced one of the goons in Sleeping Beauty, but unfortunately his life was tragically cut short in a car accident at the age of 29. And the role of playing one of the goons is actually a posthumous credit. The movie was released after he passed away, unfortunately. The third voice of one of the goons here is actually Pinto Colvig, who is the voice of Goofy, and I mentioned a bunch about Pinto Colvig's career in the Goofy video that I made yesterday. So if you want to know more about Pinto Colvig, check that out. But yeah, the goons are great characters. They're sort of these really incompetent henchmen that you always sort of wonder, like, why is such an intelligent, nefarious villain using these really incompetent idiots to try to get their work done? But there you have it. They are so inept that they think they're searching for infant Aurora the entire time, but she's 16 years old, and that's why they're failing, and Maleficent doesn't even know why they're failing, but that's why. They're just kind of dumb. But then they eventually capture Philip, and I don't know, you've seen the movie, and if you haven't, go check it out. It's a classic. Another great little cameo that these guys have is it's really a blink and you miss it, barely there thing, but they are featured in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You can sort of see them walk by in the scene. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where Eddie Valiant is at Maroon Cartoon Studios lot, and there's a bunch of different characters walking by, and you can see their sort of weapons walking underneath in the foreground. It really is barely their cameo, but it's cool. And honestly, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, every character is in that movie. I mean, Disney allowed them to kind of go pretty deep. In that lot scene alone, there's all these characters from Fantasia walking around, and there's so many different characters in that. So it's not really that surprising for really even esoteric characters to get a cameo in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I really love that movie, and it's really cool when you see any characters like that pop up to be reused at all, especially guys like this who sort of deserve a chance to be recognized. So this is my drawing of the Goons from Sleeping Beauty. I hope you enjoyed checking that out. Hope it was a nice little Halloween treat for you. Maybe you learned some stuff about Sleeping Beauty that you didn't know before. Maybe that makes you want to go revisit the movie all anew, hopefully. That would be ideal, I think. I want to go check it out again soon because I haven't seen it in a while. But anyway, I hope that was pleasant and a nice little break in your day, something to think about and learn about. And thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. Please join me again tomorrow when I'll have another Halloween treat, some sort of new drawing for you to check out. And until then, bye-bye.